I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, Jules Sands, joined by my buddy Gordon Dymowski, my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to talk some Dark Shadows. It's episode 979, chosen by Gordon Dymowski. Gordon, why'd you choose this episode, buddy?
Do I really need a reason? Why can't I just choose an episode for its own sake? I mean, I could have easily said like 202 or 3. You know?
And it begins.
Now, I chose this for a couple of reasons. It is the next to last story of the Leviathan arc.
Yeah.
And it contains, and we're starting to transition into parallel time. So you've got the death of Nicholas Blair. You've got the reunion of Jeb Hawkes and Carolyn. And you've got Roger approaching the parallel room wondering, oh, look, I wonder, what keeps drawing me to this room? So I kind of wanted to look at it as the episode starts, it has the feel, for me at least, like the writers are starting to realize, like, okay, hey, we need to end this so we can get into the next storyline. Because at the end, Sky Rumson attacks Jeb Hawk after Jeb Hawk has a prophetic dream, and then next episode will be Jeb Hawks dies, Barnabas kills Sky Rumson, Barnabas goes into parallel time.
Yeah. It's a really cool episode. I really like the fact that it's narrated by Lewis Edmonds. He's always a fun narrator. It's written by Sam Hall, directed by Leila Swift, I believe. I like how this opens because Jeb is still experiencing the shadow curse that Angelique has placed on him. She's out for revenge against anything Leviathan, and especially Jeb. But she tells him how to get rid of it. So she makes a deal with him, and he's trying to give it to Nicholas. Nicholas is all too aware of his plan. Nicholas knows what he's up to. Nicholas can read somebody pretty well. I love Humbert Allen Alfredo in this episode. He steals this episode a lot for me. I love how his spirit comes out of his body, which was just a cool effect for Dark Shadows. I know it sort of reminded me in a weird way of Josette's portrait, where the spirit's coming out of the portrait, but we actually get to see a spirit come out of a body in Dark Shadows, which is really, really cool as hell. Sorry, I'm rambling. Patrick, what did you think?
Oh, I think it's great. Humbert kind of does his Dennis Patrick impression briefly. Is this weird death rictus thing,
Yeah.
Did you lose me? I can't tell what's going on.
I can hear you and see you.
Yeah, I can hear you and see you.
Well, then I'm on. Okay, because those are the only 2 of the 5 senses this should really be covering. So if it were any more, I'd be a little worried. Speaking of spirits coming out of people's bodies, how close is this to Roger's last episode?
Ooh.
I think this may be one of Roger's last episodes.
You might be right.
Take a look. Look it up on the wiki, because there's, this is a sequence that we start to lose these characters, and, Collinsport becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So that's kind of a thing. There's a lot in this episode. It's very dense. So I was glad it was chosen. I mean, it does really start to wrap up the Leviathan stuff. You've got, poor, I want to call him Jeffrey Hunter. Yeah, Jewel, what'd you get?
It's according to the wiki, this is his last episode. It was Roger.
Mm-hmm.
Roger, we hardly knew you. He kept going to the parallel time room to see that scarf ring. That great scarf ring that his opposite has. That's how you can tell them apart. One is effete and doesn't have a scarf ring. on his feet and does have a scarf and a scarf ring.
Now, for
Really?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Now what?
We do see him in parallel time. We do as well as that Roger, but we do see him as Brutus, obviously, in 1841 parallel time. But you're right. For regular
I never
time,
said we were saying goodbye. I never said we were saying goodbye to Louis Edmonds.
Oh no, I'm just
we're saying goodbye to the real Roger Collins.
Right, I'm just bringing that up. That you're right. This is the last episode of the, Roger Collins at the timeline we know of, 1970.
Yeah.
Time. So.
Yeah. Did they know that? I don't think they knew this was going to be. Well, of course they didn't know this was going to be Roger's last episode. I guess they assumed, they would come back and do more primary time stories, and they did, but Roger was just out of town. I wonder what Louis Edmonds was doing then. I wonder if he had moved on to another soap opera and was splitting his time between the two, because they would do that.
Yeah, probably. That probably makes sense because, though, too, because they're going into parallel time, they're going to be filming House of Dark Shadows, so that's probably where he's going to.
Yeah, so yeah, because I think anyone who's in House is probably going to be splitting their time, which is why they did parallel time in the first place. And then when they come back to 1840, it may have been that after filming, that's when he took on a theatrical role or another role or another soap, because his appearances go, he's Daniel for a bit and then he's gone. And then in 1840, and then he comes at the tail end of 1841 parallel time as Brutus.
Yeah.
And then there's all the lost footage of him playing Tracy in Night of Dark Shadows. That was it went the way of
yeah, they replaced
Harvey
him with Kate
Keitel
Jackson.
in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, it's a very messy situation.
Yeah.
So what did you guys?
So Frankie, what do you think of Louis Edmonds in Dark Shadows?
What did you guys think of Angelique's shadow curse that she put on Jeb?
It is the most chilling special effect they ever had on the show. That is where special effects reached their apex on Dark Shadows. I think that it is. I think probably because of the shape of the thing, combined with how it moved, the special effect on the show that I can take least seriously. There are special effects on the program where you look at it and you think, well, okay, this is a nice try. It's good. And then there are some where you can just tell that even in the era, they kind of just were like, well, I guess we're kind of married to this one now that we put it on the air. We can't really pep it up. So let's just get this shadow thing over with quickly. Yeah. I want the dog head back, from the Dream Curse.
Yeah. I really. Oh, sorry, Gordon. What did you think of the shadow curse?
I thought they did the best they could with the resources they had. I mean, the idea of a shadow coming to kill you is a very clever idea. Yeah. It might have
been idea.
It might have been easier if they just had like a guy in black against like a green screen and use the chroma key that way, because that way you could go, he'd be doing the same thing, going oogie boogie woo, but at least it would make more sense.
You want to see something really?
Yeah.
Keep your pants on.
Yes, I do.
You want to see something really?
Are you going to stand and reveal something?
No.
Does this involve nudity, Jewel?
No. In the first Predator movie, go look up Jean-Claude Van Damme's Predator outfit. But what would have been his Predator outfit? Oh my God, it was horrible.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be in Predator?
He was supposed to play the Predator.
Really? Like Bill Cosby?
But they ended up casting, I think Kevin Michael Hall was his name, but or Kevin Hall.
Yeah.
They had cast Van Damme initially, but because of the way his outfit was and all that stuff, it just didn't look right. It looked like a duck, like a goddamn duck, and it looked awful.
Well, look what Howard the Duck did to the careers of the people involved in that film. I mean, it pretty much assassinated them.
That movie was funny.
I never said it wasn't, but it did not.
I just Googled
it was not
and
the shot in the arm that Leah
no.
Thompson.
No, it's just not good.
I like the crab monster at the end. I think Jeffrey Jones becomes a crab monster or something.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was a scary kind of Lovecraftian monster, I thought.
Yeah. Howard,
crab.
I know we got Howard the Duck in the MCU. I don't know if we'll get a Howard the Duck movie. Yeah.
Well, if it scales the heights of Marvel,
I guarantee you, Marvel will end up using Predator in their franchise. You watch. I bet.
Okay.
It would not shock me.
Because it has a DC crossover.
Well,
the Predator was a Predator and Bouncing Boy. What was it?
There's Superman and Predator, Batman and Predator at the very least, because they did a crossover of Superman and Aliens.
Yeah.
That was good, actually.
And Brother Power the Geek.
Yeah, I mean nobody talks about the whole Predator Brother Power the Geek crossover. It's very underrated. Kids, you should go out, steal your parents' money, go out and buy a used copy. You'll thank us later.
Do you know about Brother Power the Geek?
I've never read it.
Have you heard of it?
No, I didn't hear about it.
It's DC's goofiest, weirdest hero ever.
Really?
Yeah, it was written in the late 60s, and it was written by a guy who should not have been writing comics about hippies. And I'll just leave that there. It's interesting. Just Google Brother Power the Geek.
Well, as somebody who accidentally created their own superhero for their blog, I'm not going to knock it.
How do you accidentally create a superhero?
Only my brain can.
He had some chemicals and some Mountain Dew, and lightning struck as he was writing the blog. It was just like the Flash.
Yeah, okay, Jewel, I need to give you a warning.
Uh-huh.
Mixing Oreos and Mountain Dew is never a good idea. Stop it.
I would never mix
I did that all through college.
I would never mix those. Because my thing of choice is Fig Newtons, so I'm a good I like Fig Newtons. But with this
Shepard's funny story about Fig Newtons. Ralph, this is true. Ralph from A Christmas Story. We meet him in college in the story A Fistful of Fig Newtons, and he gets in a laxative eating contest.
Oh wow!
Ironically, A Fistful of Fig Newtons is my favorite Western.
Well, Gene Shepard, he had a good sense. Obviously, he had a good sense. Have you read that story, Fistful of Fig Newtons?
No, I have not.
It's one of the best Ralph Parker stories. It's really good.
Christopher Pennock is Jeb Hawks. What did you guys think of the character of Jeb Hawks overall?
I love Jeb. Jeb's this weird man-child who turns good and tries to go straight, and he wears that tie at the wedding. And Jeb is just kind of a lovable mess. He is the further evolution of Buzz Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can I give you guys a little theory I have here?
Well, when would not having our permission ever stop you?
Well, I'll just say, with Jeb Hawks,
I crave it.
For the whole Leviathan arc, when you think of how Jeb is done, I secretly think Jeb Hawks is the inspiration for Anakin Skywalker.
I completely see it.
Yep.
Like, like it's really strange because like with Jeb, he was created. He was a creature. He was created to be the chosen one for the Leviathans, but he's not really the chosen. He doesn't end up being the chosen one. He ends up marrying Carolyn. When you think of Anakin, who Qui-Gon recruited him to be the chosen one, well, it turned out he wasn't really the chosen. He was turned Sith and stuff. Again, it's very weird. I always feel like Dark Shadows inspired more than maybe what we believe or think.
Well, yeah, it was a very popular soap opera.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't just a stinky little show that's out there. It had mainstream success.
Joel, what are the other things that you think Dark Shadows inspired?
A lot of things. Obviously, Kolchak, for sure. X-Files, I think, in my opinion. Because they're like when you look at Dark Shadows, when you look at the way Julia Hoffman came into Dark Shadows, Dr. Julia Hoffman, and how she was investigating the events of what was going on with Maggie, it makes you think of not just Kolchak, but Mulder and Scully in a way. And really, not just Mulder and Scully. Look at the reporter from The Incredible Hulk. Just a lot of different things. I do think that, again, I can't prove I think the breathing from the Leviathan, the breathing that I love, I think John Carpenter saw that and applied it to Halloween a bit, because we do hear Michael Myers breathing in the original Halloween, which is creepy.
You know how I knew you loved that breathing? Because you kept calling me and playing it. You wouldn't say anything. It would just be that breathing.
Yeah, ironically, he was calling me and playing it as well.
The first three-way call.
Yeah.
That's how I met my wife too. I called her and played the breathing. I mean, what? No, I'm kidding.
Thanks for sharing, Joel.
Go on.
Oh my God. I really also, we get David Hennessy in this episode, and he doesn't want Carolyn to leave. He feels like it'll be the last time he sees her, which I actually love. This is not the David Collins we started off with in every way. He has changed a lot. What did you guys think of David Hennessy in this episode?
I really liked that change that he's had, that, he has kind of grown past having to show what a little man he is. As he becomes a little man, it's almost like he can emotionally now afford to be affectionate. But he's gone through a lot, I mean, just all the Laura stuff alone is going to make him reevaluate the women in his life and what they mean to him. He's, lost two surrogate pseudo sisters, the spirit of Sarah and then, Amy. Because do we even know what happened to Amy?
She went off with Chris and Sabrina.
Well, that's going to be a roaring success. Wow, she's doomed.
Gordon, what did you think of David Hennessy in this episode?
I think you really see how far the characters come, because he started out as basically a garbage person with a garbage father.
Yeah. And
even though he's been played many times as a victim of the supernatural, there is, I think, a real sense that this is a kid who's grown through it. This isn't just perennial victim. That you could, that even though we'll catch up with him in the whole post 1995 storyline as we're heading for 1841, there is a sense that he's become a lot more mature and a lot more kind of comfortable with himself. I do think the issue with Carolyn, it may seem a little too over the top, but I think it's given everything he's been through, he's probably like, I need something familiar. I don't want anyone else to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get David Hennessy does a really great job in this episode of letting you know how much he has gone through. Like you're saying, he doesn't want to lose anybody else in his life. He lost Burke. He lost, Victoria is no longer around. There's no, Amy's gone. Sarah, the ghost of Sarah has just completely gone. He's been through, and again, when you look at the Leviathan art too, with Michael and stuff, he's been through a lot, and to see this in this episode is very touching and makes you really feel for the character and everything he's ever been through. Even when you hark on back to how it all started, it's really, really cool to see this character undergo this.
Well, the fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
The fear of abandonment makes sense. I mean, he has Maggie and he has Liz, but, his mother, obviously. And then Vicky.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the show ever really dealt with, the dimension of Vicky's disappearance and how that, had an impact on David.
Yeah.
It just kind of moved on to Maggie.
Yeah. I don't think it really delved into it a lot, but it's something that would be interesting to see. So Roger goes into he sees the parallel time room. What do you guys think here? Lewis Edmonds is seeing another version of his son in the room. I love how they do this. It's very creepy. It gives you that creepy vibe. Parallel time, they're building some good, somewhat good horror elements for it.
I wonder if maybe just based on the way the scene's written, if maybe there's a plan not just to put Barnabas in there, but to have Roger kind of follow along.
I was thinking just the same thing. And, one of the things that occurred to me is if he sees a parallel David who is going in the direction that David would have gone if he, had continued on the trajectory that he was on at the beginning of this series. Mm-hmm. Far more delinquent, now imagine a lethal David who's that age. And, he's compelled to go in and try and help him.
Yeah.
That's a huge leap for Roger Collins.
Yeah, it'd have been interesting to see for sure, because we do get Barnabas going into parallel time. Later, Julia's going to come in and save him and kill her own doppelganger.
Oh my God. The most badass moment the series has. Julia Hoffman killing herself in parallel time. You go.
Right? And I love how they use that later, too, when they're reading the the other Julia's clothes. And it's like, oh, she's dead. It's like, no, that's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. Which is cool. It's cool. What's you guys' favorite scene in this episode?
Wow. Probably the stuff at the beginning with Nicholas Blair. But there's so much good in this episode, because then you got the stuff with David, and you got the parallel time jazz, and good Sky Rumson stuff. I mean, Jeff is getting good as an actor just as they're, kind of, showing him the door.
Man,
I kind of miss it.
I like the scene where Nicholas is trying to hypnotize Jeb, and you can see in the look in Nicholas's eyes, his thinking is, I am so sick of your crap.
Yeah.
I just want you to, I'm tired of cleaning up after you whiny ass Leviathans.
Yeah.
And Jeb, you're just supposed to marry Carolyn and just have evil Leviathan babies, not fall for her. But I also like the parallel room, the parallel time room with Roger, because I think that has a lot more implications that, we can't go back and fix it because the show's there. But I wonder, that would be a really interesting plot point that I wish they would have picked up on.
Yeah. I've got a couple in here. Number one, I love how they do the Humbert Allen Ostrado's spirit coming out of his body is so cool. Nicholas's spirit coming out of his body is really amazing. It's a lot of fun. And I do agree with you. Sky Rumson has really, he's coming to his own here. I like that at the end. Unfortunately, he's not going to stick around. But hey, it happens. You can't keep every character alive. I'm cool with that. But my favorite overall scene in this fun little movie, it's just, the fact that we get a really grown up David Collins in a lot of ways. He's not an adult, but it feels like David is pretty much ready for adulthood, even though he's not one yet.
Yeah.
Really, really, it's one of my favorite things in this episode. Really cool. Is there anything you guys want to add about this episode?
I think it's a winner. I think it was a very solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it starts the trend of the writers kind of realizing, okay, we just need to get to the point and get to really quickly, because by the time I think after Parallel Time is when they start going, okay, we can do this effectively. They know they know what they can do, they know what they can't do, and so with 1995 they just hit the ground running.
Yeah. If you guys want to catch a Dark Shadows actress in the South in Atlanta, you can catch Catherine Lee Scott with our buddy Patrick McCray, November 17th through the 19th. So go check them out.
A Mad Monster convention in Atlanta this coming weekend.
Yeah. I think it is Patrick's turn to pick.
It is, and if you'll talk amongst yourselves for just a moment, I will let you know what I am, what I'm pondering here. I don't know if this will work. I think I just froze up everything. Hang on, and I will school you in my choice. I had my protege and amanuensis, and superior in many ways, the fabulous Jonathan Alexandratos, did a little review of the daybook, and he highlighted Daybook Unbound, and he highlighted a couple of episodes that he particularly enjoyed the commentary on, and so let's see. He liked what we said about, and by we I mean me, about 458 and 459. Cool. So would it be possible for us to look at the pair of those in a single episode? Look at them together.
Sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's
when would be good?
We could do it tomorrow.
We could. Gordon, how does that sit with you? Are you available?
Let me look at my calendar. Yes, folks, I am that busy. I have to look at my calendar to do podcasts.
That's a good thing.
Okay, yes, I am available tomorrow night. Same time?
Yeah. 9:45.
Yeah. 458, 459.
So. All right. Links to the Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in the description box. You can pick that up if you haven't. Links to Gordon Dymowski's the Amazon page is going to be in the description box. Gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow night.
Take care.
Take care.